This is from Just the News. FBI whistleblower alleges January 6 cases manipulated to create illusion of national crisis. I want to pause real quick by saying something. We've ragged on the FBI, but that's unfair. It is. There is a dangerous element within the FBI. Their top brass is particularly bad, and they've been weaponized. Yes. However, I had some federal agents from different entities speaking to me, emailing me, and we've even had current contractors come on the show and talk. Mm-hmm. And the issue is the culture war is everywhere, even within the FBI, even within the DEA or the DOJ, whatever element of the DHS. Many of these people are scared to speak up, and that's unfortunate. But some of these people are speaking up now, and these FBI whistleblowers are doing the Lord's work, coming out and exposing the corruption within the DOJ. So this right here shows us the FBI whistleblower coming out and exposing what's going on. Not the first one, it's like the third or fourth, that there are very good people that work in law enforcement at the federal level that want to be stewards of the Constitution, that want to defend our rights and make our country better. There are many people that got into that line of work for good reasons, and now they're starting to call out the bad, and that's what we need. So to all the good law enforcement officers and FBI, despite what our anarchist friends who come on the show might think, I think you're doing the right thing coming out and exposing this. And I think clearly there are people who got into this for the right reasons, and now for the right reasons, they're exposing the hypocrisy and the crimes. So here's the story. The top Republican on the House Judiciary Committee said Monday, a whistleblower has come forward detailing how the FBI is manipulating cases related to January 6 to create the illusion that domestic violent extremism is a widespread problem in the U.S.
Yes.
Jim Jordan said in a letter to the FBI Director Chris Wray that the manipulative case file practice was being conducted by the Bureau's Washington field office, which was instructing local FBI offices to open up cases on their books that were in fact simply related to the Capitol breach. The FBI's categorization creates the illusion that the threats from DVE are present in jurisdictions across the nation, when in reality, they all stem from the same related investigation concerning the actions at the Capitol on January 6th, which was 800 people? And if those people were violent, prosecute them. The Republican lawmaker said the whistleblower's description is consistent with disclosures we have received from other whistleblowers that high-ranking FBI officials, including a senior WFO official, are pressing frontline agents to categorize cases as DVE matters to fit a political narrative. Not only this, but I don't know if you guys saw the other story. They're pulling FBI agents off child exploitation and moving them to domestic extremism.
What?
That's insane. Especially when you see what's happening in this country with schools and with the media. But it makes sense. The cult want to come for your kids, and the elements of the cult that are in the FBI are still helping them go after your kids.
Well, it makes sense for another reason, and that's because the FBI has a long record of protecting the people who abuse children, whether it's Larry Nassar, Jeffrey Epstein, and probably many more people that we don't even know about. There was victims coming forward, children coming forward, went to the FBI, said, hey, even in the 90s, there's people coming forward, say, hey, I was abused by Jeffrey Epstein. You guys need to stop him. He's hurting children. He hurt me. FBI ignored it for over 30 years.
They cut a deal with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the Larry Nassar story?
That one's
gymnast in Michigan State.
Yeah.
And
you want to go on that?
How's the FBI involved?
Well, the FBI knew exactly what he was doing and essentially decided to aid and abet his actions and ignored the victims that were coming forward once again. So there's a record of this. It happens more than once. And, seeing a whistleblower is, optimistic, but still, by and large, there needs to be an entire reckoning when it comes to the centralized bureaucracy that is in Washington, D.C., that, of course, is abusing its power. So this is a good sign that we're getting some information, but we're just getting... Wasn't this guy fired? I think that was the latest update. This whistleblower was fired or suspended. I think I remember reading about that yesterday. I'm going to try to look up the story
now. See if you can pull that up, because these whistleblowers are heroes, man.
Yeah.
Calling out the weaponization and corruption within the DOJ, it's got to be scary, because you're watching them abuse their power to crush their opponents, and then you have to willfully choose to stand against them. So I have tremendous respect to these agents, because like I said, man, this was a few years ago. I met a guy, I can't remember, I was at a conference or something, and he worked for one of the national security agencies. He was a contractor, because they're mostly contractors, and he was explaining that he supported Trump, that he believed in the Constitution, that I don't want to say his race, just he was not white. Mm-hmm. And he said it's scary because the same thing that we describe outside of NetSec, they have inside as well. And he's like, what do we do? They'll just fire you if you speak out. So you try and do your best to do the right thing. But I think there's a lot of good people that are in there, because there's a lot of good people all over this country, and you just got to call out the corruption. Did you find it?
I think Jim Jordan was speaking about this to Tucker Carlson last night, and he was talking about this specific case. You're nodding your head. Do you remember that?
I didn't watch, but that's the article that I read.
Yes. So Jim Jordan, FBI whistleblower, I think it was Jim Jordan. Correct me if I'm wrong. That the whistleblower was found and suspended currently.
Suspended.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to fire federal employees. You know?
Yeah.
So
I got to be corrected. I'm speaking off the cuff, just off of what I remembered from last night, just reading it in passing.
I mean, it's just outright creepy that they're trying to fabricate this stuff. And for what? You know what worries me is that we had a couple people super chat us the other day that their friends are being deployed to the Pacific.
In 2 weeks?
Yeah, and it's like, how convenient for Joe Biden if a war were to break out with China right before a midterm election where they desperately need to cling to power.
Or the illusion of a war. I mean,
Right.
just as long as people think.
Exactly. Some skirmishes, some conflict that resolves itself in December.
Yeah, and then he's a hero in our media, and Xi Jinping's a hero in the Chinese media, and then
Win-win.
they both win their elections. Man, I don't think this extremist stuff is really is nearly what has been provoked for it to seem by these certain media organizations. Like, it never was extreme in the 90s and 2005, and like the after 9/11 there was radical Muslim extremist talk, and it was all about the Muslims and like this weird divisive. They must have earned a lot of money for people.
Whatever they can do to generate hatred and propaganda. You
Just
guys
because
found
they
it?
want military.
Yeah, we found it. Jim, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, no, I just hunted down the article again, but Jordan said the whistleblower was suspended from his job Monday in what the congressman called a retaliatory firing. So
That's illegal, isn't it?
It sure
Yeah,
is.
retaliate against
whistleblower
whistleblower.
protection is something that is a real thing. And if you come forward with information providing that the government did something wrong, you're supposed to be protected, not suspended and fired and punished for whistleblowing on something that legitimately is a problem in the United States and leading to radicalization and leading towards a larger divide and conquer agenda from what I see it.
when reached for comment by Tucker Carlson's show, the FBI said the threat posed by domestic violent extremists is persistent, evolving, and deadly.
It didn't exist before 9/11. That's what I'm talking about. This persistent threat is weird. I don't know if it's because they want to raise money for the military because they're afraid that as the liberal economic order evolves into a world order, they want to maintain martial law in the United States so people don't revolt when they realize it's going to be $30 for a can of Coke or whatever. That's why they're drumming up such zeal.
The war on terror is just turning inwards. You know, we had the radical Islamists that were financed by the CIA for so many decades. You can only do that for so long. Now you need, of course, domestic extremism, of course, to turn the war on terror towards the American people. We have all the national security surveillance state already set up. We have all the national emergency procedures already set up. And it's just only a matter of time until, again, it's going to be turned inwards. It already has, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and there's going
it
to be
already has,
some
in my
very
opinion.
negative bad consequences because of this.
Like domestic foreign thing is also the line's been blurred right now. Like you get on a Facebook chat, which is an American company with someone and you're talking with someone in Canada. All of a sudden now that the FBI is involved or the CIA is involved because it's foreign. And like that.
And they're supposedly masking you as the American. But then what they do is they ask Canada, hey, who was that? And Canada's like, oh, that was this guy. And it's like, we didn't do it. Five Eyes Spy Club, baby. That's
Right,
the game
so-
they play.
So as much as I hate to say this, I am afraid that this looks to me a lot like another step in the Civil War because this is what I've been saying. They don't have enough of a supply of white supremacy. So obviously they're fabricating it. I was hearing, I forget who was talking about it earlier today. All my podcasts run together, but they're talking about how they're fabricating cases of extremism in the U.S. so that they can meet certain quotas within the FBI, which is mind-boggling, but it's exactly what I said was going to happen. Looks like a civil war because, as Luke said, it is just a war on terror brought home.
Look at the Whitmer thing.
Each other. Huh?
The Whitmer thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 15 informants and like 4 guys or something like that. I think it was like 6 guys and like 12 informants or something like that.
I don't remember those exact numbers, but there was a lot more informants than crazy autistic people that went along with the government setup. That essentially was that case.
George Bush Sr. was talking about the New World Order in like the 80s, late 80s. And even I think while he was president, he was talking about this. So do you think that this is like they're just anticipating a revolution into a new global system and they want to like have a strong domestic military presence so that we can control the populace when it happens?
trying to understand sociopaths is not an easy thing to do. He was also a big CIA guy, but that's beyond the story here. Again, it's hard to quantify and understand exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it. I think even just explaining what they're doing to the average person out there and breaking the conditioning, breaking the matrix that everyone is in, breaking the trauma-based mind control is already an uphill battle. I don't want to go as far as to speculate exactly why they're doing it. The fact is they're doing it, and the first thing we need to do is be aware of it.
Yeah, I think motives are less important than what's actually happening, and knowing what the fallout of the current events would be is way more important than wondering or knowing why it's happening. I mean, you do ultimately want to know why people do psychologically, but realistically, if someone's proposing a plan, all really matters is what's the plan going to do. I don't really care why you're proposing it.
I mean, I just look at, you know, all the families being torn apart because of it, and what the culture war and just these divides and everything, and that's irreparable, and it's very sad.
Yeah, we I think it was Larry Elder mentioning that he had good friends that all of a sudden they couldn't talk, and that he presented evidence to them and they're like, I don't want to read the evidence. Yeah. I mean, how do you, like, what do you do? It's irreparable. I agree.
Well, it's hard too, because, you know, like suburban women, suburban mothers, me, you know, we're a class of people who really don't want to talk about this stuff. We don't want to acknowledge that there's people like the Canadian professor in our children's classrooms, in our children's life. We don't even want to acknowledge
shop
it.
Teacher.
Yeah, shop teacher. I mean, it's something that we just don't even want to discuss, and it's easier for us just to say, well, you know, this is one crazy isolated case. Like, people want to live in denial. That is how they want to live. And then, you know, on the flip side, when it's like these minor little social justice issues, they feel like they can just toss out their opinions, or, you know, it's like an easy win to show how woke they are in the group of some moms or something. But you know, I've reached a point, and partly was because of the last show that I did with you guys. I'm just kind of done staying silent about it, and instead of trying to open up this crazy debate with everybody that I know, my new goal is, and I think I'm going to try to coin the term microactivism. Yes. I'm just going to try to just show these people, show these friends, these colleagues, these neighbors of mine, that they're not. That their way is not the only way of thinking, that not everybody's on the same page. So even if it's just like I don't know why you would do that, even if it's just something as minor as that, I think it's important for people to know that they are not always going to be the majority, that they need to know that there's people who disagree with their way of thinking, that they just can't go around scoring these social justice points all the time. They just can't. And these little things that these microactivism moves, I think, are very important to start doing.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.